I'm just really, really excited about what Chew on This has built in a short amount of time. What started as a podcast is now, I think, a nucleus to the D2C ecosystem. I can't find too many people in the most humble way that haven't been impacted by something that we've put out, whether it's newsletter, podcast, dinners, or us talking on our social platforms. And I think that's something to be proud about, but also means that there's a big need for it. So we have to keep growing it. So we've never done this at Chew on This before, which is kind of like a bonus episode. And typically you do bonus episodes when you want to add a little bit of something else, but we actually have a lot of something else, which is there's just a lot going on at Obvi, our house of brands, Chew on This. And so this is an episode to kind of talk about what's going on and how we're finding more efficiencies with even taking on more, and what's kind of next for some of these things we're working on. And I think it's a great time for us to also take a break from all of the guests we've had this season and kind of
they've been great, by the way.
Yeah, they've been amazing, but kind of also jump back into what we've been working on and what we're doing. And we have a lot to cover, but I'll kick off the first thing I think that is something that's really exciting in our world is acquiring a new brand.
Ooh.
We just acquired Coffee Over Cardio, which is a brand focused around health and wellness with a coffee-first approach and hydration approach. And we're super excited to be the owners of this brand that's been around for 5+ years. It's done over $10 million in sales across 300,000 customers. And we're excited to take this to the next level. So let's maybe talk a little bit about the decision here and what we're going to create efficiencies around here.
Yeah. I think a lot of questions that I got was, what was, I guess, the thought process of how, why this company? Why not just start your own? And I thought that was a really interesting question. But when you really peel back the layers, starting a brand from scratch is, yes, it's exciting, it's fun. If we didn't have Avi and we didn't have the resources, yeah, it'd be like starting all over again, right? But right now, we've already built out the infrastructure for Avi when it comes to creating creatives, websites, landing pages, emails, the supply side, ops, everything you could think of. We're literally taking a business, stripping it down, because they already have a customer base, they have a community, they have sales, proven track record, inventory. They're ready to I guess the owners are kind of ready to let go and they want to move on to something else. All we have to do is now plug that in to our existing infrastructure and take it to the next level. So I think that for us is exciting because we get to kind of just skip the beginning bullshit and just go right into it. But yeah, that's why I'm excited, because we already have the systems in place, you know?
Yeah, one thing you touched on was they already have a community in place. And I feel like if this was just another product, we probably wouldn't have went ahead and purchased the company. But they have a lot of legs. They have a community. They have some semblance of a brand. And it's a lot easier to tweak and tighten up a brand than it is to go and either refresh a really shitty brand or start one from scratch. So they had a lot of wheels, they had a lot of legs, so we felt like this was just the right opportunity for us to jump back into this. And honestly, I like the beginning of things, so I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this. I'm sure you guys, I know we love Avi, but we've been doing this for 4 years now. So playing with some other toys is gonna be a lot of fun.
What was the, I guess, on your end, because you kind of led the whole acquisition part of this, right? What did that process look like?
Yeah, I think it was interesting because when we decided that, okay, this is something we want to do. First, obviously, the opportunity presented because of our network and building in public. I think people also kind of sometimes look at it and say, can somebody do better things to my brand than what I can do? And so I think we've gotten countless opportunities where people are like, hey, I have this brand, I think it needs your touch. And we've kind of passed on many of them. So I think first was identification, right? Okay, here's another opportunity. This came from our network. We know the person, we know the brand. Step 2 was, I think, just taking it and saying, all right, well, is it healthy, right? Because without health, if buying something that's just a logo and some email addresses makes zero sense, right? We found that it is healthy because it has a very strong subscription program. We found that it is profitable, and we found that it's done millions of dollars of sales, which just needs a little bit of a kick back into gear. So I think after identifying, we checked the health, and then we went straight into what's called diligence, which was grueling because you spend a lot of money on legal. You spend a lot of money on just like trying to understand the elements of like, is everything they're saying about their brand even correct, right? So you kind of have to become this auditor, and you can go and hire a third party, or when the transaction's kind of small, you're like, wait, a third party is going to cost $30K. I kind of have to do this work ourselves. So we kind of jumped right into everything, right? Shopify, looked at all the creative assets, looked at how their finance and operations are set up. And then I think what took almost 45 days, 60 days, now is at the point of, okay, now you're transitioning everything, right? Which is also another piece like, okay, banking, the changing over the finance. This week we spent 2 hours with their operations team to understand how do you order bags of coffee and the beans from Ecuador and this, that, like every element of operations. Now, like this morning, spent a lot of time with the social media manager to understand her process. And are we keeping that team or are we changing the team in-house? And I think what's really cool here is after you figure out some of those interesting like variant pieces, everything else is like you said, we know we're just going to put it into our structure. And I think it'd be really cool like to jump into that maybe because we're now like, I know a lot of our viewers, they are just starting off or they are just newer brands. And I think for once after since these 4 years, we can relate back to saying, if we were to start a brand, right, what are some of the things we would pretty much jump right into in terms of either our tech stack, our creative stack, our finance stack? I think it'd be really cool to kind of almost give that scope of here's literally what we're doing from day 2, which is today. And I know for us, we always go to the performance side first, and we're like, Ash, we need to start making a lot more money with this. So maybe what are some of those few pieces that you're like, you know what, 0.0, this is what we're going to start with?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few tools that I need to be implemented, right? And I know like on Twitter, everyone's talking about tools. Like these are genuinely what Avi was based on, right? So the first thing I would do is install Triple Whale, right? Just for brands out there, they have a free plan now, which is really cool, where you get all your stats, right? The success to any business is really knowing your numbers, and we talk about this so often on the podcast where there were times where we just had no idea what was going on internally, right? Like I just tweeted out, yesterday, I didn't know our numbers on some of our offers as well as I should have, right? And that hurts the business at some point, right? So making sure you have some type of tool to analyze the day-to-day numbers on a hourly, minute-by-minute, whatever it is you need to look at it, and Triple Whale is what does that. So number one, Triple Whale, it's free, install it, right? Secondly, what I would be doing is kind of, when we got access to the ad account, is pretty much just doing an audit and seeing where the, I guess, opportunities are. And I mean, so far, they did a great job setting everything up, testing, running ads, whatever it is. It's like, now how do I put my touch on it, right? How do I implement what I know running Avi for the last 4 years? And I'm honestly like, after seeing what we've done with Avi and cost caps, like I probably will start there, right? For a new brand, we're just starting off. I don't want to waste money out of the gate, right? I want to be as efficient as possible. So I think the first thing I would do is kind of pick out all the good ads that have run in the past and like basically just set up a cost cap and let it run, right? Server-side tracking, which is so important for if you're running ads, right? Whether it's Facebook, Google, or TikTok, server-side tracking.
Can you explain that more? Like just people like you probably don't even get it either.
I looked over there when
server-side tracking, right? So I mean, originally Facebook has its pixel, just lives on your website, and if somebody visits the website, Facebook will send that information back to Facebook, right? But after the iOS update, a lot of these events get blocked because of how Apple implemented the privacy changes, whatever it is. So server side means I'm taking data from our company, right, as a first party data, and I'm sending it back to Facebook versus the original of Facebook sending it back to Facebook. Okay? Followed?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's a few tools that do this. There's a free version on Shopify. But even Shopify themselves have said this is not the preferred way to do it because it's not fully, the capabilities are not fully there, right? And again, it's free. It is what it is. We've been using this company, Elevar, since literally post iOS update, like the month after. That is the cleanest way to send back data to Meta. So that, one, you're not missing anything. If there's any issues, there's like accuracy tracking. So if like one day there's a hiccup and it's like, oh, like we're losing events, it's missing events, we'll get a notification, right? And you know, we'll alert dev team and this that and find where the hole is. But if you lose data for like even like 10 minutes, it can throw off your whole day. So making sure that you have proper tracking set up, it's Elevar, right? And with some of these like upcoming changes through like iOS 17, the cookie window decreasing, like Elevar fixes a lot of those things. So if you're not using that, it's just one of those things you just put on and you just never touch. You're just always using it, and I think you always need to be using it. So super interesting there. And then the creative stuff, dude. I mean, I'm excited to kind of implement what we've been doing. We've built out a team in-house to now handle creative strategy, create briefs. We have a whole database of creators. So like literally any brand that we bring in, we already have a creative process set up. But I think what would be interesting is also, I think, okay, you've been eyeing how you want to like rebrand this a little bit and kind of get the content that we really need to show this off. So maybe touch a little bit on that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, they have, you know, a pretty good brand, you know. A lot of the design principles need to be tightened up a little bit. And I'm excited to do that. That'll be fun, but it's not like it's going to go from A to Z. And it's really important we don't do that because you don't want to rattle the customer base that they already have, and they have a really strong subscription program. So that's something we definitely don't want to shake up. But there's ways to do this, and we can transition it into a really clean, really pretty, really inclusive brand just by, you know, taking our time a little bit, easing ourselves in there. We don't want to come in and be like, oh, hey, we're the new owners. This is a new brand. This is a new name, new logo. No, let's hold the brakes. Like you said before, you're just going to kind of start running ads, the ones that were working for them. I think that's the best way to do it. As far as like, you know, even their content, I'd plug them right into Suna. It's the virtual photo studio we've been using for all of our brands, like Avi and even Power Rangers. We got the Suna shoot done. Like you said, when you have those processes already set up, it's really easy to just plug them right in there. And Suna makes it super easy. They have all your previous photo shoots you can refer back to. They have all your briefs already saved on the website. You can pick your models. You can pick your humans, your pets, your hand models, whatever you want, your props, so make it super easy. But yeah, I'm super excited to get this going.
Virtual. What is that? What do you mean by virtual?
Yeah, so it's really, really cool. You have this really great experience with your photographer. Usually you get a photographer and, you know, if you're founders like us, you can't go to every shoot and it's just not possible. Or, you know, your day's killed. And then you kind of didn't know what you were getting back. You were almost shooting in the dark. Now they zoom you in and you see the entire shoot happening. You can talk to the photographer, you can talk to the videographer, you can talk to the model. You can set up the props how you want them set up. You can, you know, pick your scene, your backdrops, every single thing. So you're literally directing the shoot without leaving your office or your house. So, I mean, it saved me a ton of time. And we also have a lot more creative control, and we actually get back what we want. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they've been the best. They've been the best partner for efficiency for us.
Yeah, I think if you look at our ad library in Avi, I think we're using all the new stuff, and it's like it just looks clean.
Yeah, it's professional. It
like there's purpose to them, not just like random shots like on a background. Like you can tell that there's a purpose in the way that they're shot, and obviously that's you basically being able to kind of lead
110%. And then, they have all these things like you can get on the preferred program where you get a stylist, and then you can get, some actual director in there to help you out, a producer. So there's a lot of options.
There's a good element around cost savings too, though, with Suna, which a lot of people don't, I think, talk about either, which I personally love, is the fact that you pay for whatever you want.
Yeah.
And like, I think that part creates a lot of like, it takes away a lot of the redundancy, because I think before, some of the studios we used, we would get like 25 photos and we'd pay whatever $4K for it or something.
Yeah.
And like, I see you use like 6 of them.
Because the rest suck. It's like, they're pointless.
Yeah, they're like pointless. And it's just like, damn, we could have saved like 3K.
Yeah.
But it's also like like you said, you get what you need, right? I don't think we've ever set up a photo shoot unless we truly needed the stuff that we were getting, right?
Yeah.
Like, whereas before it would just be like monthly retainer, you're just getting shots, and like, I don't think there'd be months where we wouldn't use any of it.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't need to do studio level shoots every single month unless that is the type of company you are. And for us, there was a point where we were using a lot of UGC content and studio level shoots. We needed it, but we needed it for product launches. We needed it for promotions, things like that. So I think these things that are a little bit more intentional, it just works better. And then again, like, we pick exactly what we want. So they'll take 100 shots. You can only, you only have to pick 5 of them, and you only pay for 5 of them. So it's a great deal they got set up over there.
No, that's awesome. I think fundamentally, like, I think it was great coverage around like what we're gonna do performance side and even creative side. I think a part that like the foundation when we go back to it is like, if we go back to the customers, right? I think there's a couple of things which are like our favorites, our go-tos of like, hey, whether it's Power Rangers that's completely starting from scratch, or a brand that's, in its middle of the life stage, or Obvi, I think these are like our cornerstones, which is like, who is our ESP provider, and then who is our customer service provider. And I feel like these are cornerstones pretty much in all brands. But I think we should jump into kind of like maybe some thought process around why like we, do this right out of the gate, because I think this is like a day one type of thing that we did. So I know you're a big fan of Gorgeous as well, but I think customer experience is the biggest piece in everything, especially when you have a subscription brand.
Right.
But you can touch a little bit on why we like default to, I don't even know if we know any other platforms. Like,
yeah, I mean, when you think customer service, like, I think everybody immediately goes to Gorgeous, right? And when we were doing our diligence and, kind of also talking to the employees at the brand, it's like, how are you handling customer service? And they were literally answering emails in a Gmail account, right? And so I think, one, that's fine up to a certain point, because that's where we started, right? But as you grow, right, this is a brand that's done 10 million in sales. You're going to grow quickly, and you need to be efficient at the things that you do, right? So if a customer comes in and has an issue, if you're using Gmail, right, you're literally copying the email, going to Shopify, putting in the orders, pulling up the customer, seeing what they ordered, this and that, looking at tracking. Like, it just becomes a waste of time, right? And I remember us having to do that at the beginning of Obvi, right? And the minute we switched to like Gorgeous, it just made life so much easier, right? It's integrated with Shopify. The email comes in, all their order details and everything is on the right side. Tracking, is it delivered or not? What's their previous order history? This and that, like, everything is there, right? So I think immediately switching over to that will help that entire experience just become better, right? It'll lower the response time. I think it would lower the amount of just like inefficiencies altogether. But I also think, like, because it is still a smaller brand, a lot of the tickets that do come in can be handled by automation. Right? And I think that's something that even like you've been working on with them and trying to implement to Avi. But all the like, just the usual questions like, where's my order, this and that, right? Like, we shouldn't be spending time on that. We should be spending time on the tickets that actually have like personal issues, right? Like, hey, listen, I tried this product. I may not have liked it, but can you give me some feedback on how to try, right? I would rather our team spend more time on that, trying to educate the consumer, than waste time on like looking for tracking numbers, right? So I think maybe talk a little bit about the automation side.
Yeah, I think shout out to Jeremy over there at Gorgeous, because he kind of got us into the early stages of them building it out. And I think where this automation kind of world lies is really all inspired by AI, first of all, right? I think AI has played a big part in automating a lot of things, even for design and creative. But I think Gorgeous kind of jumped on it really, really quickly, which is taking AI and then taking kind of the redundancies of what's really frequent in our account and finding a really good mix of, here are your automations, but we're going to also add one more layer, which is this is going to be powered and kind of prescribed by Gorgeous, instead of it being like, hey, here's an automation tool that your team can go set up. They're very hands-on in helping us create these. What are our best practices, bringing those best practices in, and really trying to clear up the workload, like you said, of answering the same thing over and over again. And yes, there are macros, right? Which was, I think, that road to automation, which is just, hey, if you get this response, just quickly press this and it'll save the same type of response. But automation is, you don't even need to be there, right? And obviously there's going to be some learnings where like maybe something gets answered wrong, this or that. But I think we're also very good about like overall, if we're improving and we're creating efficiencies, that's where we're going to find time. And if our current CX team can find efficiencies in not having to do redundant work, then they can probably be more personalized in some of the stuff that is more, obscure or something that's more intense that needs to be handled. So super excited for this to roll out.
I think when you even brought it up to me the first time, I was like, fuck no. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to automate any of it just because, like, we've done it in the past. We've used the macros in the past, and, like, people just get pissed off, right? It's like you want a human touch to it. But I think what I understood was when going through the tickets that were coming in, that genuinely a good amount of them were just the same question, right? Like, where's my order, this and that. And listen, like, we send out tracking numbers. People just don't want to look at the emails or they want to open it up or whatever it is. And that's fine, right? And those questions will always come in. Where's my order? Just that being automated to me makes sense, right? It's a simple answer to the question. And I'm sure the girls answering the emails get bored of it and tired of it and frustrated. Like, I don't want them to go into their job being like, oh, well, I'm answering the same question over and over again, right? I want them to feel refreshed that they're talking to different people that have different problems or maybe even just, celebrating certain things, right? So I think that to me made the most sense to free up the time to really like dive into, the more personal side. So I'm excited for that.
So tons of features are often talked about when it comes to why an app is obviously useful. Besides knowing what it can do for your business, what are the actual fundamental things it helps when it comes to the consumer itself?
So in addition to giving value to the consumers, which is number one, what we want it to do, logistically, the app converts a lot better, right? There's one-click checkout. All of our, buy now, pay laters are compatible, integrate with them. Our subscription platform integrates with them. For loyalty, we use reviews.io, and everything is able to be managed from within the app. So like I said, it's one place to give value, but two, if you're making a purchase, it's the easiest place to do it.
If you want to get started today building an app, you can get up to 2 months free with TapCard. Remember, they take care of the entire build out, so you don't have to. Get started today building an app for your brand. Now, let's get back to the episode.
No, that's awesome. And I think it did touch on the second cornerstone, which is, again, the heart and soul of every brand out there is email, SMS, right? And I think for so long, you guys probably remember the MailChimp days.
I sometimes miss it.
Yeah. Remember that time we were at Aloha and I sent out the same campaign 3 times in a row?
Times in a row.
I didn't think it went through.
Yeah.
So it was like,
I remember
like 50,000 people just getting it. Like, and then I got an email from the CEO.
Who
did this? We were out a couple. We were out a couple months.
Yeah,
later.
that was it for us.
Why was I running email?
Yeah, I know. I have no idea.
You need to stop pushing buttons.
I don't think we've given you access to even Shopify since then. But like you take it back to like MailChimp days, and then like, it's been like a very monopolized area, which has been like, you either worked with MailChimp back in the day, and then you switched to Klaviyo, which is what a lot of people did, including us. And then you kind of start seeing like, wait, the money I'm spending on email for pretty much doing what other platforms can do, because you're working, it's through a service provider. You're working through the same framework. The money I'm spending is just insane, right? Because it's based on contacts.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's such a broken model.
Yes.
And it's become even more broken, like, as we go toward, like, we went through the iOS updates, then email got attacked, like, all the open rates and like, all the data is, like, so bad. Now you're getting to, like, iOS 17, where, like, tracking links are getting stripped from the mail app or whatever it is. Safari. Like, there's so many things that are happening that this model should have changed 2 years ago, right? Why am I paying for contacts, right? And okay, so let's rewind, okay? If you're sending emails, you're not blasting your whole list. And if you're blasting your whole list, you're doing it wrong, okay? You're going to have a certain group of people that you're going to constantly email. And those are the people that are only engaged with, obviously by opening your emails, clicking them, et cetera, et cetera. If you're sending emails constantly to people that are not engaging with you, your ESPs ding you and you start going to spam, right? Deliverability sucks. You want to avoid that, right? But what ends up happening is that, let's just say, like, I think, Avi, we have like 500,000 plus emails. We're only sending to around 100,000, right? But we're paying to host 400,000 people for no damn reason. And and that, to me, makes no sense.
Yeah.
And that's been the model for the longest time.
No,
So
it's insane. And
stupid.
it's actually pointless. And I think that's why another big cornerstone for us is onboarding with Sendlane. It's just something that, first of all, love the team. Like, if you have a feature request, like,
I don't
Jimmy
think I don't think anybody is
no one's
nicer than Jimmy, like,
No one's
more
doing
responsive than Jimmy.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like, we're gonna save so much money being a smaller brand, but we're also saving so much money being a bigger brand. So the model just works all around.
and to be fair, right? Like, I think there was this price comparison, right? If you are on that smaller business end, the pricing does match up, right? Whether you're with Sendlane or Klaviyo, the base pricing is very similar. So you could go either way, right? But as you grow, that's when you have to think about the future of your business.
And I think the other thing you have to think about too, when it comes to something like Sendlane, is like the actual tool and the features they have. They're building around D2C. They're building around e-commerce. Whereas something like a Klaviyo, which, God bless, they file their S1 and go an IPO. They're building for enterprise, right? They're building for the Nordstroms and the Macy's of the world, like the Nikes of the world, because that's who's going to be the big spenders now. And I get it. And I think we've always gravitated towards tools that are building for us, not building for what's going to make them the most money. I think that's where Sendlane stands today, and super excited for both Power Rangers and Coffee Over Cardio to onboard with them this week. And I think while we're on this topic of just email, SMS, etc., I think it'd be good to also just kind of talk about the one that probably is one of our more favorite ones, which is not talked about enough. Although, they're everywhere and everyone uses them, but it's not talked about enough, is push notifications. I know you feel really strongly about it. So maybe touch a little bit on that.
So push notifications, to me, is like an absolute no-brainer, right? We just talked about the issues with email. You're not able to hit everybody, just based on, you have to preserve deliverability. SMS, as effective as it is, again, costly, right? But push notification, you can literally send hundreds of thousands of pushes a month for zero. Okay. And I'm excited to get Coffee on Tapcart. And I mentioned, right, they have a community. There's already 8,000 members in there. And I want to give these people a place to go to just, one, be able to get, their their flavors of coffee, and it's primarily subscription, right? So I want them to go to a place where they can manage everything, right? And that's an app, okay? Secondly, the community is very health and wellness driven, right? And I think we're going to use the same playbook that we did with Avi, which was the blogs, the recipes, the recipe videos, etc. So you have a place that you can learn what you need to learn, and you know, that to me is the app, right? Wake up, hey, there's a new blog posted, let me check it out, right? Some tips and tricks on, you know, what to do in the mornings, or new recipes on how to prepare the coffee, or whatever it is, right? So that to me is like a no-brainer, so we're going to move right into that. But what makes it a no-brainer is the push notifications, right? And I think anybody who's listening, right, you got your SMS running, you got your email running, push notifications, you can hit everybody for free. And that's where you truly build the connection with your customers, right? You're literally, and the question and I guess the pushback that we get a lot is like, well, aren't only your best customers going to download the app?
Yeah.
And yeah, that may be true, but you're turning your best customers into even better customers, right? You're building the connections with them the way that we do it at Avi, right? Push notifications every day, motivational messages, right? You're building that affinity towards a brand. Like there are times where we send those you know, push notifications, and somebody will screenshot it and send it to the community and be like, you know, I really needed this today, right? And just that one moment can create a customer for life. And those are the moments we want to create forever, right? And so when you think about it, you're not sending out motivational messages on SMS, because it would be stupid to do that, right? You need SMS is for sales driven, right? Email, again, you don't want to fire off an email every day. It's going to hurt deliverability and open rates. But push, free. So yeah, I'm excited to build that out.
Yeah, I think you know, touching more on TapCard too, I think going on the Power Rangers side, right? I think there's two elements to Power Rangers that's like kind of cool. Is like, one, the characterization of the different dogs and cats you've built, which I think, you know, I think you can have a lot more controlled elements on an app versus like a website. So I'd love for you to touch on like the design part of like the freedom you get on something like TapCard, but also number two, just pets in general and pet owners. Once they find something they like, they want it fast, and that's all they care about, and they never want to change their routine. And I think an app bodes to that. So maybe we'll touch a little bit on that design piece too, because it's like, again, a no-brainer for us to definitely have this piece.
Yeah. I mean, TapCard stores generally look better than most people's websites. I mean, unless you fucking suck.
We'll cut that.
No, I'm excited to integrate Power Rangers with TapCard, because our Avi store looks great, and their builder is so intuitive. And it's not like your usual drag and drop builders that, you know, you don't need any code for, but most drag and drop builders suck, because you honestly, there's no control there. You know, there's been so many times where me and you have been playing around with just pixels for so long because we can't get it to be responsive. And it's like, dude, maybe if you lower it by 5 pixels on the width, and it's like, dude, I don't even want to deal with it. And that feels like so long ago.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, you don't deal with any of those problems. What you upload is what you get, you know, and everything is crystal clear. There's no blurry images, again, unless you fucking suck.
Just don't suck.
But yeah, I think we're super excited to integrate Power Rangers with TapCard. And like you said before, I mean, people spend more money on their pets than they do their kids. Yeah. So, and I know so many people who've just been on the same pet subscription. You've been one's like $5
for 5 years.
Yeah, and you're like you're not even taste testing.
I pour it, she runs to it. That's it. That's all I care about.
No, yeah. I think those are great points, and I think one other piece, again, not to harp on the TapCard piece, but it's so important. Like, we have 2 really cool case study brands here. One, Power Rangers. It's a $0 brand right now. It makes $0, and we're still setting up an app there. And we have, you know, Coffee Over Cardio, which is a 7-figure brand, and then you have Obvi, you know, deep 8-figure brand. In all cases, we feel the need to have TapCard. And I think to touch on it, you know, you look outside the cost really quickly, because the fact that your brand is going to already be aligned with an app. Think about the customer base that's coming in and be like, oh shit, there's an app, right? Like this is just immediately mounts you. The cost is made up very quickly just through increased LTV on the app, right? So if you can funnel customers to the app, that's huge. And then number 3, I think the fact that, 10% of our Obby revenue comes from there, but it's our highest AOV and our highest LTV. Just you start to be able to train your customers from day one to say, hey, we're going to make this super simple and easy for you. And if you can do that from day one rather than do it, year 3, that's just getting to a better habit of what data proves to be correct. So I think that's where we're really kind of like, hey, these are certain must-haves for us.
Yeah, community building since day one. Yeah, I think that's what we did at Avi. Luckily, Coffee did it already. So usually at the end of every episode, we do a chew, right? But I think we could do a little something different where it's like, what are we all like excited for in Q4? Okay, maybe you go first.
Yeah. I'm probably most excited about Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Forgot about it.
guys. Yeah. I mean, we've just put when did we start this process? When did you fly out to Bentonville?
December 13th, I remember.
Yeah.
13th.
I remember you got a call, and then we went out to dinner that day, and you're like, you guys want to come? They're like, nah. And
Worst trip of my life.
yeah, I think we could do a show on just how that town functions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we just put so much work into this, from redoing the packaging to flavor testing to getting the formula right, to finding the right manufacturer for this thing, to get these things to the warehouse, the printing. Oh my God, there's so much that goes into Walmart logistics. It's stupid. And like, it's one of those things where if you get one thing wrong, you're out. So thankfully we were able to get there. We got on shelf, and I can't wait to see some of the early data that we get from there. I mean, it's been flying organically. Yeah. So
we haven't even started marketing.
Yeah, we haven't even started. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. What about you?
I think I'm most excited about like what we're building in the ecosystem. I think we've done a decent job of obviously building in public, which has led to 2 different groups of, you can call it people or networks, kind of coming to us and working closer with us. One is the network of different e-com SaaS tools and partners, where we're talking about them openly because they either work for us or don't work for us, and we've built stronger relationships there. And then I think on the other side, I think we've built a really strong network of founders, whether it's through Twitter, LinkedIn. I think even more exciting things that we're doing recently is like doing founder dinners.
Yeah.
Where we're bringing together 30 to 40 founders in different cities. We're starting off with New York, going to Austin, Chicago, LA, Miami, Utah. This is like stuff that takes a lot of time to prep, finding sponsors, finding, attendees, to be there, free on a date, finding the venue. There's so many elements that go to it. Make sure no one cancels. It's stuff that like we're doing because we truly care about the ecosystem. I'm just really, really excited about what Chew on This has built in a short amount of time. What started as a podcast is now, I think, a nucleus to the D2C ecosystem. I can't find too many people in the most humble way that haven't been impacted by something that we've put out, whether it's newsletter, podcast, dinners, or us talking on our social platforms. And I think that's something to be proud about, but also means that there's a big need for it. So we have to keep growing it. So truly, truly proud of it.
Love it.
And I love the open bars.
Yeah.
It's the only reason you go.
Those dirty martinis, man. Extra dirty.
Yeah.
Got that.
Last but not least,
Yeah. I'm just really excited to see. I don't know if you guys, for those who like watched the other podcast I'm on, which is ad spend on Triple Whale, and this thread that I put out, whenever this episode airs, but I put out a thread about how we've drastically improved efficiency, right? We're a high LTV brand, right? People come back, they're buying different flavors, they're buying different products, and the model had always been like, okay, or at least the model after iOS update was like, okay, cool, like we know what our LTV is, we're okay with high CACs, right? But it got to the point where it's like people are talking about we're first order profitable, this and that. I'm like, why aren't we doing that, right? Like if we have the resources to pump out content, the website's amazing, the product is amazing, why are we like being like, why are we okay with just breaking even or losing a little bit on the first order, right? So I talked a little bit about our story and how we transitioned from being more of like a CAC to LTV, play, and now more of like a CAC to AOV, right? So we're profitable on the first order. So I talk a little bit about how I did that. Long story short, pretty much started from scratch. New ad account, new pixel, new Facebook page, went all in on cost caps. And I'm surprised when I put out the thread, I didn't get too much pushback, which is good. Because there's a reason behind it, right? And the reason was, hey, we got to be efficient, and I want to stay efficient, right? I want efficiency to be constant and volume be the variable, right? Because we have returning revenue, we got Walmart, we have the community.
That was hot. Say that again.
So I'm excited to see what happens in Q4, right? I'm excited to see what happens in Q1. But because efficiency is stable now, I'm excited to like now dive into just even more CRO, even more like efficiencies across the board. And so that means, changes to the landing pages, and actually getting consistent traffic, right? Whereas before it's like, it was so volatile, you don't know if a change is making a difference. So keeping that consistent allows you to test different things. And a really cool thing that we're doing, right, is A/B testing in our checkout, right? Do a lot of A/B testing on the homepage, the landing pages, your product pages. Nobody talks about A/B testing on the checkout, which is arguably the most important place, right? And this is where we started using this tool, PDQ, right? And I think some of the few tests that we've done recently have been really interesting. The latest one that we've tested is A/B testing our best customers unlocking free shipping just as a surprise, right? So if they come in and they bought like one thing, right? We have a free shipping threshold of around $60 or $70. They buy one thing, they have to pay shipping. But surprising 50% of them with, hey, surprise, you've unlocked free shipping, okay?
Yeah.
Now, can that boost the conversion rate from checkout to purchase just by like, offering some type of surprise there, even though they went into checkout knowing they're paying shipping? So there's a lot of cool things that this app is able to do for us. And so I'm excited to test a little bit more about it, because 10% increases, 20% swings really can make a difference in terms of what your CAC looks like and how profitable you are on that first order. So excited to see what we come up with during Q4 and going into Q1.
Chew on all of that.
Chew on that. If you want more from us, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and check out the website chewonthis.io.